reading into this one. Morning, Mr. Davis. Nice to have you on the programme this morning. Now, you've been down there. You've been meeting with local residents.
Yeah, well, this has been going on, even from my point of view alone, for 2 years. I mean, and much longer than that when you take into account what the local council has been trying to do. But yes, I've been down to talk to them any number of times. But most importantly, I've also been trying to deal with the Environment Agency. I understand you've had Richard Clark on already this morning, in terms of trying to get this resolved. And, well, back in 2012, we were made a whole series of promises by the agency, including Mr. Clark, about how there would only inert material be put on, i.e. not smelly material be put on. That was broken. How checks would be done regularly to ensure that was done. That promise was broken. That there would be a commitment to work closely with the East Yorkshire Council, because there are two responsibilities. One of the problems here is a split responsibility. That was broken. Technical requirements were put in place to cap the site, because one of the problems is you can't just stop, because you'll have poisonous leachate, you'll have smells, you'll have escaping methane and so on. So technical requirements were put in place. That didn't happen, and so on and so on. So you've probably got a bit of a picture of this from people you've interviewed already today. And City Plant and the various providers of the waste that's gone on there have been less than forthright, perhaps is the simplest phrase I can use on this, in terms of the way they've handled it. So it's been, frankly, an all-round disgrace. And what I am trying to do is to try and force an end to it. I'm speaking, as it turns out, by luck really more than anything else, to the head of the Environment Agency, Lord Smith, this afternoon at 4 o'clock about this very issue. And we're going to try to see if we can precipitate an outcome. Now, a conclusion. Now, the problem is that there are two real big problems. One is that the people who have to do it, City Plant, have not proven very compliant so far.
Yeah, and to be fair, the Environment Agency is probably, Richard Clark did say he's got a steam coming out of his ears about it, because it doesn't matter what they've said. They feel that the measures haven't been met, and he feels that all of the anger shouldn't be directed at the Environment Agency or the East Riding Council, but in fact at City Plant itself, because it's them that's failed to meet all the requirements that they've been asked to meet.
I think as a primary, thinking about who should get blamed, as a primary blame, yes, he's quite right. I mean, these are the people who, after all, created the situation we have now. But nevertheless, the Environment Agency has been less than rigorous in imposing its powers, if you like, on this. And one of the problems here is whether there are enough resources in the company. I mean, the trouble with these companies is they set themselves up as shell companies, is the wrong word, but you'll get my idea if I say that the companies don't have enough resources necessarily, so that if you actually leaned on them very hard, they just go bankrupt, and that's it. You're left with a liability. You're left with a big, stinky site with no one to look after it. Now, in these deals, there is a guarantee, a sort of bond, if you like, and that bond is supposed to pay for anything that's done if the company goes under. Now, I suspect, I don't know because it's commercially confidential, but I suspect that the bond that the Environment Agency has on this site is not big enough. And that's why they're not pressing hard enough. But I think this has gone on, in even under my purview, for nearly 2 years of promise, broken promise, new promise, broken promise, new promise, broken promise. And I think there has to come a time at which you draw a line. And one of the things I'm going to be asking Chris Smith about today is, in the event that City Plant don't deliver on this, will the Environment Agency have the powers and resources to do it themselves? Because that's the other problem. I mean, one of the things that's happened...
I did ask that question, Mr. Clark. He said they don't have the power. I said, can't you just wade in and fix it and then deal with all these legal notices afterwards? And he said that they don't actually have the powers to be able to go on and do that.
Well, I'm not sure that's quite legally correct. There are three issues. One is, do they have the legal power? and I think they do in extremis. That's why the bond exists. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the bond. Secondly, do they have the technical capability? That is a real problem. And thirdly, do they have the resources? Do they have the money, basically? And under current circumstances, obviously, all government departments are short of money. And those are questions I'm going to put to Chris Smith today. He may not have the answer, but we're at the end of it either. But we're going to get to the bottom of that, frankly. But at the end of the day, somehow or other, the pressure must be brought to bear, and it may even be, final financial pressure, or it may be fines. There's all sorts of possibilities. There's lots of environmental law around there to make this happen, because we have been gentlemanly, I suppose is the right word. We have accepted people's promises. We accepted people's undertakings time and again, and that's true principally with the commercial operators, but also, frankly, with the agencies involved. And I think it's not unreasonable that local people are getting pretty exasperated with it.
Because you've come into this quite...
Before we come back, one other thing in terms of this week, we're also having a meeting with the Environment Agency locally in York on Friday. Now, what that is to hear is a report back, because we got exasperated quite a long time ago. Not all of this happens in public, and another part of the agency has been looking at what the local region has been doing. So we're going to get that report back on Friday as well. So we'll also find out from that, I suspect.
Isn't your government going to do something about the fact that all these waste disposal companies, it's very lucrative, isn't it? If you can just take the money, take the money and dump all the stuff and then just walk away.
Look, I agree with you. The simple truth on this is that a lot of well-intentioned but very badly thought through environmental proposals have been put through in the last decade or two. And I mean, largely under the last government, but both governments have some blame for it. And it's been all, the ideas, sort of nice green ideas, and it ranges from this sort of thing, blighting people's lives with this sort of thing, through to people spreading this sort of compost, unpleasant compost on fields and ruining people's lives through the smell that comes from that, through to destroying their lives with wind farms. I mean, these environmental drives have been thoughtless about the impact on ordinary people's lives.
Okay, so what are you doing?
What am I doing? What have I been doing? I've been complaining about this non-stop for some time. Whether I'll ever have enough leverage to make this change, I don't know. But this is much more about operational failure. It's not. So this one's much more about operational failure. There are other areas which are about policy failure. This is about operational.
All right. Well, flex your muscles where you can, David. I'm sure you will. Before you go, I was told I was only allowed to talk to you about this. What don't you want to talk about?
No. As far as we always call in and say, all right, what do you want to talk about today? And the answer.
Are you sure? We can't draw you in on any handbag swinging within your party, no?
What are you thinking of?
Well, I don't know. I just want to. Is your money on Miss Piggy or Kermit?
We've actually had quite a successful week this week. I think rather a good Queen's speech and rather a good outcome in the Newark by-election. I'm feeling unusually benign today.
Well, there we are. Do you know me? I'll always poke the bear, David. Nice to talk to you.
Bye-bye.
There we are, David Davis, one of our few local MPs that